Once Human is a solved game. We're going to be talking about how everything is discovered, everything is min-maxed, the most efficient ways to do everything that you should be doing in the game. It's all figured out, it's all mapped out, it's discovered, there's nothing left to learn. We're just going to go through the motions now. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, the most searched thing for this game is acid farming. You need acid in order to make tungsten and aluminum, as well as a bunch of other stuff in the game. But it's been figured out that the most time-efficient things to do is just have alt accounts and then do the Hale's Moving House weekly. And if you think alting is bad or that people shouldn't use alts, well, all the Sweatlord clans are using alts as well. And when this game comes out for phones, which is coming soon, alts are gonna be tenfold. Like, you're not gonna stop at this time. Right now, people are only using alts that have multiple Steam accounts or like a laptop and a gaming PC. But pretty soon, everyone who has a phone, I don't own a phone, but everyone that does own a phone is gonna be mass alting, and that's gonna just make acid even more easy to get. So, also AFKing for Sproutlets on either a dead server. After the 6th week, everyone moves on to normal and hard mode servers. And you have plenty of time during that kind of, phase where you transfer to a new server to farm Sproutlets, which you can take with you to a new server, and you can trade Sproutlets at a 2-to-1 ratio for acid, making acid farming completely pointless. Or if you're on a dead PvE server or an inactive one, or people work during the day or they don't play overnight, you can just do Cargo Rush, or Cargo, whatever the hell it's called, and just farm Sproutlets, and that's the quickest, time-efficient way to get acid. Then you have fuel, because people are like, whoa, I gotta make fuel, and some people think that you have to pump oil and then refine the oil. No, that is the least time-efficient way of doing fuel. If you just do the Ancient One weeklies, again, on your alt characters, that's more than enough fuel to last the whole 6 weeks. Then you have AFKing for Sproutlets, once again for the barreled fuel, and finally just doing Prime Wars, which you should be doing anyway, and opening those loot boxes with your controllers will give you barreled fuel, way more than enough barreled fuel to keep all your vehicles fully fueled up all of the time. And then, of course, everyone wants to know the highest DPS builds in the game, and you have so many YouTube videos out here where they're stacking damage to normal enemies and pre-buffing so that their mannequin DPS numbers are as high as possible. That's how they get the views. And then you have the people telling the honest truth out there, but essentially this has been quite quickly solved. Let's just go over it. So, for great ones, aka, like dungeon bosses and Prime War bosses, you have the Bingo build and the Last Valor Shrapnel build. These are the two that are always topping the damage meters. These are the ones that you can solo some of the lower level Prime Wars with a Bingo build straight up. So these are the two safest ones. And then you have Silo Farming, which is the Jaws build. That's a unstable bomber. Then you have the Icy Rain, which is kind of a tank self-heal and then AoE spam. Then you have Leah Labs. Again, Icy Rain is on top with Bingo second, because there's a few lameable bosses where you can stand in a corner where they can't get you and you can just snipe them. And then you have the Shock Submachine Gun. I forget the name, but since I'm in the game, I can literally just tell you. Go to Blueprints, go to Submachine Gun, and it is, what's it called? Where are you at? It's the Outer Space one, yeah, so that's the Outer Space one. Alright, and then after that you have PvP, which is Jaws and Bingo, and that's basically it. It was Doombringer, but that got nerfed. And then for speed leveling, you have two options. During week 1, there's not a lot to do, so most people just AFK salt farm. They just build 20 stoves, 20 to 40 to 60 stoves, electric stoves, and then they just scoop up salt water and then cook salt. And then they sell it to vendors on all their alts so that they have their energy links basically done for the season. And they get all their alts to around level 30, 35. They get their main to at least level 40, because at level 40, that's when you can wear tier 5 equipment. So you can go straight from tier 3 to tier 5 as soon as week 2 starts. And then you have the Sweatlords who want to actively play the game and not AFK it, and they do the blueberry soda method, where you just mass grow blueberries and turn it into sodas, which is a better way to get energy links later on. It's also a faster way to level if you're actively playing the game, but it's not really AFKable, and it takes a lot of maintenance and a lot of replanting and a lot of digging up the soil when it gets too polluted and putting the soil back down. But those are the two main ways to level up the 40 in your first week without actually having to grind or do a bunch of other crap that's time inefficient. Then you have energy links, which is mostly alt abuse, but still, you have silver bars. If any of your alts gets the mimetic for silver or gold bar making, that's basically donezo. You go farm silver for 30 minutes and you're basically done for the whole season. Every time the vendor's energy links refreshes, you empty them out and then you're loaded. Then you have blueberry soda, which is combined with the leveling method as of earlier because it's just mass, you can just mass craft the hell out of them. And then you just repeat on alts. These are the two main ones. I didn't put salt down because even though people do it mostly with salt, it's a much slower way for just energy links. Also, the double canning method. If you get the mimetic for double canning, I made a whole video how to farm 500,000 energy links per hour. It is not technically faster than the silver bar method. Because right now, for whatever reason, they made a patch where you can refresh the mining nodes by teleporting between two different worlds. So you go to World 3, then you go to World 4, you go back to World 3, and it'll just be like, it'll refresh the mining nodes near the teleportation tower, which will eventually spawn silver and gold nodes. And there's even bots that are just farming this non-stop, so they just basically have infinite silver and gold, which they turn into bars, and then they just have 100 alts that they're spamming energy links with. Then for scrap and crystal runs, you basically have the Blackfell loop. You can do this every 4 hours on reset times. And that's basically it. It's I think I've made a video on this subject, but essentially, you go to Blackfell, which is right here, and then you just grab all of these armor, gear, and weapon crates, and then you go to the towns nearby every 4 hours. You just do this quick loop, takes a few minutes, and you'll be swimming in crystals. You'll be swimming in plastics and electronic chips, and metal scraps, and basically everything. You'll have more than you can ever spend, or more than you can ever build. If I had 20 alts with active bases, I wouldn't go through even half the materials that I was able to farm in just a weekend. It's pretty nutty. Then people always want to wonder, what is the best defense base? Well, it turns out that the 40 Cortex mission at level 3 is not really that difficult. You can see here, these are just level 2 turrets. I don't even have 20 of them placed down, and this is more than enough to do the 40x missions. And I just have a little box here. I can close this wall off with, it's real basic stuff, but essentially it kind of looks like this. The enemies will spawn in this corner, and this corner, and then the turrets just mow them down. And then I just tag them so I get the drops. And again, that's 40 level 3 Cortexes. Even on hard mode servers, it's still completely AFKable if you want to. And, it's been completely solved. You can also just float a base. You can put your base over water so the enemies can't run in water. There's a whole lot of different tricks, but essentially, you just make rifle turrets. You don't need anything else with some cameras so that the rifle turrets know what they're shooting at. And then you just sit back and collect it once per week, every, server reset, 6 weeks. And, well, the first one is just level 2 Cortex is the first week, but the second through 6th week, level 3 Cortex is 40 of them at a time. And it's basically solved. It's really, really simple. It's a little too easy in my opinion. I believe the defense mission should have really big, tough enemies and massive hordes, but that might lag the server. The server probably can't handle it anyway. So animal breeding and crop growing. Now, I wish these had, a better use, but breeding animals for all the time and effort and energy that it's worth, you get almost nothing. You can go to spawns and get all the hides and stuff that you want, all the meats that you want. The only real reason people use this is like for milks and to like craft very niche foods, but none of the niche foods are meta in any builds. And so they're pretty pointless and worthless to do. It's just like, hey, look at my turtle farm, look at my cheetah farm, or whatever the cat is. And yeah, it's cool to see the farms and stuff, but it serves no real in-game purpose. It serves no min-max purpose. It serves no sweat lord purpose. And with crop growing, you don't need massive grow houses, even though as fun as they might be to have, they are still very inefficient. Once you have, a handful of deviated crops, you have your food buffs, you're good for the whole season. You don't need to dedicate a whole alt base to it. It's sad that that's how it is, but there's just really no reason to mass grow crops in this game. Most of the time, as you're just running around anyway, you'll see the deviated crops that you need. And even if you actively just roam around, you'll get about 5 per hour of the exact crop you need. Like, for instance, one of the meta builds is you need a deviated saffron. Well, you can easily get 5 of those per hour just playing the game and driving around as you normally would. Whereas if you make a dedicated grow farm, you're going to get maybe 6 to 8 of them every 6 to 12 hours, depending on which fertilizers you use and how many alt bases you have. And, you grow like one set and you're good for the season. I mean, there's just really not a whole lot going on with the food anyway. Silver and gold farming, I touched on this earlier, but you just go to a teleport tower and refresh it over and over and over again. Infinite silver and gold, this is a non-issue. There used to be like very good spots that you can farm silver and gold, and while you could still do those, I guess if it gets patched where the teleport towers don't refresh the mining nodes, that's probably too much stress for the server to try to remember the placement of the mining nodes instead of refreshing it for the player if they're nearby. But we'll see what happens, but currently, it's just refresh the teleport towers. So progression for the min-max Sweatlord is basically, you start with the Wildfire Pistol going into Icy Rain into Bingo Jaws, and then you just upgrade the star quality rating of all of that stuff each season, and you basically have all your assets covered. You can completely solo everything in the game. PvE-wise with Icy Rain, you can solo some Prime War bosses with Bingo, you can PvP with Jaws, you can speed farm silos with Jaws, you can farm Great One bosses with Bingo, and you can farm everything with Icy Rain. It's just not as fast. It's much safer, more brain dead. Like, if you just want to watch anime and tune out the game, then Icy Rain is definitely the way to go, but there's really no need for any other current weapons. Even on the hard mode servers, you got your, you know, you can eliminate the enemy shields with the Frost Vortexes, with the Jaws, and it's really that simple. And of course, griefing, because everyone loves a good griefing video game, as do I, and there's really not too much you can do in this game. For instance, you can build in the sky at Prime Wars, taking up all of the building structure limits, and then you have to build 20 cannons, but players and Sweatlords will just bring trucks anyway with cannons, and they did patch it where those work now. They actually deal damage. So you can't really stop a Sweatlord clan from doing the Prime Wars anyway, but you can still make them see them in the chat, but it's a lot of work to get this stuff floating and to build it all at once without having to go back, and it's a real stinker just to set the whole thing up. It's actually a little bit too much effort for, it's too much effort for the salt you can mine, right? Now, you can try ramming the trucks with the cannons there in the Prime War, but due to lag and the fact that Prime War bosses were like basically paper mache once the shield is down, they're as good as dead anyway. Now, you can ram sales trucks in Blackfell, but I've noticed on newer servers that people just aren't really using vendor trucks anymore. They just don't care. The big Sweatlord clans of the server just have a big vendor kind of shopping mall that they set up like outside one of the oil fields. And that's where everyone goes to shop now. It's no longer Blackfell meta. So ramming those doesn't really work whenever it's in their base and not on a truck. Now, you can place trucks with alarms and farm animals near active player bases so that the alarms constantly bug them. But, I mean, they can just turn their volume down and not really care. You can use mass alts. It takes like 15 to 20 alts, dependent on how the enemy or how the player's base you want to target is. But you can wall them in. Now, there's nothing stopping them from just mass, like, building a staircase and jumping over your walls, or just moving their base with a few, you know, pushes of a button, making all your effort basically worthless. And it's bannable, too, if you wall in a person's base. It's really stupid how many bannable things there are. You can also use a Chinese name, which you can see here that I'm using, to avoid getting reported when you have a floating structure, because they won't be able to type that name into the report box. Oh, man. Then you have farming controllers. Of course, commissions are the biggest contributor to controllers. You get the Hales Moving House weekly again. Too bad you can't trade the controllers with your alts. That would make controllers an infinite resource. You have your 3 a day dailies, so if you're actively playing the game, you're getting 3 a day. Not really that much. The sign shooting weekly, which a lot of people don't know this exists, so I'm going to show you on the screen, because I have not made a video about this, but right down here at the very bottom center of the map, where is it at? It's like right here where these two dirt roads converge, like right here on the beach. Right in here, and there's server lag. There is a sign shooting mini game that you can do once a week, and that'll give you some controllers, so go check that out. And, yeah, so the Warband shop weekly, a lot of people also don't know about this one, but you should always make your own Warband and then contribute to it. You can buy 3 controllers that way. Let's see if the week has a reset for me or not. I'll show you. So you just open the menu, click Warband, and then here's the Warband. Weekly contribution cap is already done. So you go to shop and you just buy the 3 controllers. You just donate silver ore, and that's like 10 silver ore a week. That'll give you enough points. Very simple stuff. Then you have the Sproutling and Planar shop. Those are seasonal. Once you empty those out, you can't do it for another 6 weeks. But that's also a good source of controllers. So for mod farming, you just farm the Shadowhound. If you have a high DPS build, you can nuke it in pro mode in 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, you're getting a weapon. You're getting 3 mods, which you can combine, like, it's like 6 or 7 or 8, I forget how many, to whatever you need. And let me show you what that looks like, because, again, a lot of people don't realize this. You open your menu, you click the mods button at the top, you click mod conversion, and let's say I need a weapon mod for Fortress Warfare, like Final Territory, right? And I'm a crit build, a Fortress Warfare crit build, I don't know. So I want the Violent mod, and then I can autofill it, there we go, by combining these 4 that have the Violent mod on them, and then 2 other ones I can, you know, kind of control the rarity here. And this is technically the way that you would be able to craft 4x legendary mods. It's a huge grind, but that's basically how you do it. It's going to take several seasons to make those anyway. And what do? Oh man, I deal 20% more damage to enemies. Oh boy. From things that you already kill in 10 to 20 seconds, you now kill in like 18 seconds. Oh man, that's the game. Like, the game is solved. There's nothing more to learn. There's nothing more to do. Every build is basically finalized. Every build is almost homogenized. What I mean by that is that most builds, when you build them perfectly, will, at solo, without buffs and without other people debuffing enemies, you hit around 140,000 DPS. The top builds can hit about 160, 180, 200k, and in parties you can hit 240, 250k DPS. And everything basically melts once you reach about 80k DPS anyway. You can just straight up nuke everything in the game, even on hard servers. It's not a hard game. It's completely solved. There's nothing more to learn or discover or figure out. All that's left is to spin your wheels in the mud, upgrade your gear, season after season, doing the same loop over and over and over again, which I know is not very friendly in the West, but if you're an Eastern Asian gamer, then that's what you guys love doing for whatever reason. And, you know, I'm kind of right there with you. If there's, you know, an endless grind, I do like my grinds, but most people don't. Game's solved. I'm sorry. All that's left is to beat the game, get the Rebecca Deviant, hold hands with her, and then that's it. Roll the credits. Time to play something else. But hey, if you want more, you know, Once Human videos, I mean, I'll continue to make stuff if the views are there, if the player count is there. But it's already dropped down to about half. We'll see if the cell phone release of the game helps. Anyway, if you have any other questions about the solved meta or anything, you can ask. I read every comment. I just want to let you guys know that this game, there's really nothing left to discover. Everything's mapped out. Everything has, you know, web articles written about it. There's like tons of YouTubers that have somehow played 6 different servers simultaneously with their staff, leveling characters so that they can make so many different build videos. Like, for instance, if I want to make a build, you know, video about the Memento pistol here, it takes about 3 weeks until I can get the mods, right? I have to roll on a new server, you know, wait 3 real-life weeks, and then I can present with you the Memento build. But other YouTubers who have like 30 gamers at their beck and call in a studio office can just run 30 accounts and then make a build guide for each weapon, have it out, you know, the 3rd week that the game launched. But whatever. With that said, you know, game solved anyway. Just go with those meta builds. Don't try to do some wacky one-off build like, oh, I want to make a Fortress Warfare crit build. It won't work. It'll suck. You'll cap out at 30k DPS, and you'll just hate yourself for not going Bingo Jaws Icy Rain. I'm sorry. That's the truth. Hopefully this video saves someone out there 3 weeks of grind time. With that said, I'll see you guys later. Click the video on the right side of your screen, and if you don't, your foot's going to cramp up in 2.5 days.